Alrighty. So, as I said, I'll be your host tonight. My name is Steve Greger. I'm also known mostly in the FX world as Pips Don't Lie, more recently as the FX Coach. Sometimes, if you're brand new and you haven't been with me before, it's good to know a little bit about your presenter. So, there's a brief resume on the right there relative to the Forex. So I've been trading since about 2003, coaching since about 2004. At the very first Forex MLM that was out there, I was one of the trading coaches, and I had the #1 group in productivity, volume, etc. At FX Partners, another MLM that came along after FX Trainer, I was the director of training and development. I'm the founder of Pip Club. I've got a PC Magazine Editor's Choice Award for one of the financial software products I've designed. One of my companies has an Inc. 500 Fastest Growing Company Award. Back in the days when it meant something, nowadays it's Inc. 5000. Back then it was Inc. 500. I brought the first technical analysis product to the IBM PC world. I brought the first over-the-air real-time financial quotes to the world. I'm the creator of Harmonic Wave Convergence, which is a multiple time frame analysis technology. I've created the Pitchfork Mastery course, as I've said. I've created Charlie Delta Trading, which is a specialized pitchfork we use on the IML harmonic scans. I am a educator at IML for both the Forex and crypto side. I've got certifications in life purpose coaching, motivational coaching, life coaching. I got 2 of those. Law of Attraction practitioner, NLP practitioner, and CBT certification, as well as neuroplasticity certification. So I'm not trying to come across, in a boastful way there. I just want you to know that I didn't start the Forex 6 months ago in Mama's basement. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the trader's physiology. That's not psychology, for those of you who did a little quick look and thought it was psychology. Understanding how your brain functions and its impact on trading success. So tonight we're going to be covering things like the sensory information gateways, your SIG and RIS, the editor, neuroplasticity, emotional disruption, ego, the real law of attraction, the learning process, the curve and the compound effect, goal planning, KSP, expectations, and then the punchline for the night. So I want to tell you that this video is not about trader psychology. After 15 years of trading and gone through the trial and error, gone through the school of hard knocks, gone through fight your way to success, trading psychology is a band-aid. You're not getting to the root of the problem. Tonight, we're going to get to the root of the problem. And that means we're talking to brand new traders. We're talking to traders who are frustrated with their progress. We're talking to traders who have inconsistent results. So I have ego disclaimer on there. And what I'm going to tell you tonight, I don't care if you agree with it or not. I'll tell you if you don't agree with it, most of the reason is going to be your own ego. Some of you are not going to like what I have to say tonight. Sorry, I'm a transparent kind of guy. I'm just going to lay it on you. And when we come to physiology, which really means how things work, and when we're talking about the brain, how the brain works, there's no interpretation. There's no room for multiple interpretations of it. There's no, oh, well, it's that way for everybody else except me, because that would put you in the ego category, okay? And so I will tell you right off that what you're going to hear tonight are the facts, and I mean the facts. Some of you have been my students for 3, 5, 7 years and more. Got several of you in the audience tonight. You have heard a lot of pieces of this before, but I don't think I've ever put it together in such a way that when I get to the punchline, you've actually heard me say it that way. You will recognize what it is when we finally get to the punchline, i.e. the one thing you need to walk away from tonight with. All right, so as I mentioned, trading psychology is great. I'm surely not going to say anything negative about any of these authors. I've been through these and more books and courses on trading psychology. There's some good information in many of them. However, as I said, it's a Band-Aid. It's not getting to the root cause. And if you want to keep trying to fix your problems, you're just going to end up buying more and more psychology books. Nothing wrong with it, except it's an expenditure of money and you're not getting to the root cause. So tonight we're going to talk about what that root cause really is. So I didn't have time, and I knew I wouldn't get all of the attendees to do what I would ask, but I'm going to ask you at some point in the future, maybe before you review your notes, maybe before you watch this a second time, to go to our group at iMarkets Live, Scans, Forks, and Fibos, join it, and go to the pinned post, and inside the body of that pinned post, there's lots of information, including a video section that has several good videos. Okay? And I'm not going to go through all of them that are there because we have a tight schedule tonight, but I will tell you the very last video listed is the intro to the law of spirals. And you need to watch that video because this is kind of a tag along to that video. Those of you that were at the class when I taught that or have watched the video since, you're going to follow along tonight just a little bit easier, but I've tried to design tonight for anybody, even if they haven't been through that law of spirals video. I will refresh and spend some time here. As far as single topics, it's going to be the biggest topic I'm going to spend time on tonight. So I'm going to review that law of spirals video and try and bring it down from whatever its length was to maybe 20 minutes and highlight some of the things in it. And so I'm going to bring up my graphic. It's real busy. It was a build graphic as I was going through the presentation. And so it's going to look a little hairy to you and a little crazy, busy, etc. So essentially the law of spirals talks about these four quadrants or four areas that you may have seen represented before in other presentations. I'm not sure who the originator of it is. I've seen several people use it, including Tony Robbins, but they've never talked about much more than the four corners. And what we're going to go into is how this law of spirals works. First of all, understand it always works clockwise, whether it's spiraling in your favor or against you. And it doesn't really matter where you start, but we're going to start in the upper left corner with raw potential. And so you can see here, this is the summary of the law of spirals video. So we're going to start with raw potential because we're all the same there. We're all just, adults and humans. And for the most part, we're probably within a 95% range of having the same raw potential. And this applies to all of life as well as trading. Okay? So what's going to happen between your potential and your actions? We're talking about you pursuing something, you pursuing a dream, a goal. That, as I said, that could be in the trading realm, that could just be in life. And I'm going to go through the ways that the spiral will work in your favor. And again, it's not really multiple choice. This is how it works, and you can abide with it or you could disagree with it, but it's how it works. It's kind of like, we call it the law of spirals because it's just like gravity. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or think it's right, it's going to work no matter what you believe. And this is proven many, many, many times over. And so there's no debate there. It's your decision whether you want to believe this or not. So we have raw potential. And we've got to get, we can't just act. You don't want to be a ship without a sail. So we have to have some goals. Too many of you enter the Forex and you really don't know what you're doing. You heard it was something hot, so you jumped on it. And you really don't know what it is you're trying to do. What are you trying to achieve in the next 30 days, 90 days, 60 days? And we'll get to expectations, trader expectations in a minute. But you're going to have some goals, and you want them to be written. And as you'll learn later on, I can tell you, writing the goals versus typing them makes a big difference in your ability to achieve them. It has to do with how our brain absorbs what it is we're doing. It's called neuroplasticity, one of the areas I've delved into strongly the last 5 to 10 years, the whole neuroscience reality of how our brain creates our behavior and our actions. So you want to write them down. You also want to have rewards and punishments for tasks, subtasks, or goals. So the first thing I'm going to say is most of our society, we tend to reward ourselves without having earned it. What do I mean by that? We stop by Starbucks 3 times a day, 3 times a week. Well, some of you it's 3 times a day. So we stop by Starbucks 3 times a week. We fast food our lunches. All right? These are things that the rest of the world in large parts doesn't do. Okay? And it's a reward we haven't earned. So one of the things you want to do, and you have several ways to do it, I'll be glad to help you, is to set a goal and then set a reward that's commensurate with that goal. So as an example, we've recommended everybody in our group to join the Whetstone Book Club. And one of the things as a goal I've always had for my traders is to read 4 self-development books a month. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, once you start, you're going to want to even do more than that because you'll see the benefits of having done it. So one of the things you want to do is maybe you set a goal for next month that says I can go to Starbucks 3 times a week next month if I finish my 4th book before this month ends. And then you have to have the discipline to self-enforce that goal. You don't say, yeah, I'm going to do that. That makes sense. I'll abstain this month and I'll only go to Starbucks next month if I read my 4 books this month. Well, on the flip side, the consequence of not having the discipline to read the 4 books, puts you in that spot where you're going to have to say, no, I'm not going to reward myself. Again, discipline. You also want to establish some minor punishment. I was watching somebody the other day, and somebody asked this very question: should you be punished for not achieving your goals? And I saw one of the traders responding, no, the consequences of not having achieved the goal is the only punishment I need. This is not true in the goal planning, goal achievement world. You need to have some punishment. It's punishment enough not to go to Starbucks 3 times a week, but you might take something else out as punishment. Because if you go on going to Starbucks after you haven't achieved your goals, you are programming your brain that it's okay to not make your goals. And guess what that does for your future self? If you continue to program your brain, I'm going to set a goal, and there's no punishment for not achieving it, or you continue to reward yourself as if you have achieved it, you are just programming your brain to say, it doesn't matter whether I achieve my goals or not. And as we're going to learn later on, that crew will honor that without problems in the future because it's a very loyal crew. You're the captain consciously, the crew is your subconscious mind, and if you say it's okay to not achieve my goals, that's exactly what they're going to give you. So you want to be careful about even small goals. You want to have the discipline to achieve them. You want to have the discipline to reward yourself. And if you don't, you want to have the discipline to punish yourself. Now, can you punish yourself in a good way? Yeah, absolutely. If I don't make that goal of reading 4 books this month, not only do I not get to have my Starbucks next month, but I have to send a $20 payment to my favorite charity. There's actually websites for punishing yourself for not achieving goals. Pretty interesting psychology. All right. So, let's move on. You have a goal, you've got plans, and I was talking about this with a long-term trader friend of mine who's been trading with me 10 years. Started out as a student with me, been with me a long time. And he was talking about his life plan and what he's doing here and how he's modifying it and whatnot. First of all, I could tell you he's in the top 1% because 99% of you probably don't have a full-on life plan. 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year. Oh, I can't. Things are going to change. Yeah, they are. You can accommodate that with changing your plan. As Tony Robbins says, most people spend more time planning their 1 week vacation than they do their life. Makes a real statement about how we operate. Discipline also means, when the alarm goes off in the morning, both feet are on the floor within 30 seconds. That's another form of discipline, right? So actions. Actions. So 2 things here I note. MAP stands for Massive Action Program. Massive Action Program. So you want to have a map which has a sense of urgency and has momentum. This has to be written out, guys. See, if I were to say, to go from step 1 to step 2 in being a successful trader, it's going to take 20 hours. There's a difference between that 20 hours being put in 2 weeks and it being put in 2 months. Still the same 20 hours, but the person putting it in 2 months, while they still may get to their goal, this is going to take them a lot longer, not just because of the stretch out in time, 2 weeks to 2 months, but because they're not going to be efficient in remembering what they need to remember to transition from step to step to step. So they're going to have that review. So your actions have to have a sense of urgency. They have to be massive. Momentum. Right? Those of you who are IBOs and were listening to the 7-figure mentor call the other night with Jason, right? Outside of introducing the products, and in the weeks before, Austin, Matthew, whatever, Matt, talk about urgency. Talk about massive action. That's what it's going to take with the Forex. So right up front, up here where you're doing your goals, you have to decide whether you're going to be a trader who wants to replace full-time job income or more, or you just want a hobby. Because those 2 decisions are going to dictate your massive action. And if you don't have a plan telling you how you're going to do that, what days of the week you're doing what, and how much time, your subconscious mind is going to get distracted and you're going to be off doing other stuff. I'm amazed at how many IBOs at this stage of the game forget about the 7-figure mentor call with Alex Morton every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Why? They haven't planned it. It's not on a calendar. It's not on their planner. When they got to the weekend, it's like, oh boy, the week's over. Thank God it's Friday. And all they're thinking about is boom, 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 They're not thinking about, let me look at the thing. Let me look at my planner here and see what I've got going on this weekend. Oh yeah, Sunday night. There it is, 7 o'clock. Let me set an alert on my phone now for 9:45 so I can get there on time and be there ready. No errors with Zoom or my computer or speakers or whatever, right? So you got to plan your stuff. Got to plan your activity. Your actions will dictate your results. And here we begin the spiral nature of this circle and success or failure. It all spins to the right, but it's a matter of whether it spins up for you or spins down for you. So we all have the same potential. So depending on the goals we have, whether we're writing them down, how we've established a reward, a celebration system, and a punish system, our planning, our discipline, and executing those plans, and then taking all that to the actions and following the actions with our plan, with a massive action program, and putting momentum and urgency into what we do, that will all dictate your results. So while we might all start off equal with raw potential, where we end up with results is going to go through this process, including the action that we take. So then we get results. Well, results determine your belief. However, there's a lot of things that come on top of that. The first one is subconscious programming from your past. It's not stuff you did, it's stuff you were subjected to. All of your past. Said it twice for emphasis, huh? That means if your parents were soft or your parents were strict. That means your parents' attitudes. That means your school teachers' attitudes in the education system. That means any employers, how they treated you. Because your crew personalizes that and stores it. And if you have emotion attached to those memories, it's going to be even worse. Okay? Your religious beliefs or your parents' religious beliefs, what you experienced with your religion. Okay? Your parents could have been 60s hippies. That's going to be part of your subconscious programming. You have an older brother who was the big achiever. I encourage you to read Birth Order if you haven't already. Should be one of those books you understand about your personality based on where you sit in birth order. A lot of people, scuff that off until they start reading it and they go, well, that is me. Yeah, right? So you might have an older brother, older sister, brothers, sisters, how you sat in the family, uncles, aunts, cousins, uncles, whatever. They all have an opportunity to program your subconscious mind. Okay? You've done things and never won. You played, AAU baseball, Little League baseball when you were in the 5th grade and your team didn't win a game. That gets planted in your subconscious. If you're a Forex trader, negative Forex results right from the beginning. And again, you're probably going to get them because you're not listening to what I said tonight. But that just creates the bigger spiral because they all get thrown into your subconscious mind. Now guess what? Your subconscious mind acts as an editor. It acts as an editor to all those events, and it throws them and casts their consensus opinion onto your real life now. When you say, oh, I don't like doing this, oh, I don't like the taste of that, that's all from your past programming. You don't get to decide what you think and do. Your subconscious mind does that for you. You want to argue that? Now we're back to the ego disclaimer. So you have this editor in your head, which is really the subconscious, and we'll talk about how that editor works. But all of these are past programming. Then you get environmental programming. Now, environmental programming could be passive. It can be passive where you have some control. Passive just means you're subjected to it. Okay? You might be at work and you have a cubicle at work and the person next to you is always on the phone, male, female, calling their spouse 20 times a day, complaining about everything. When are we going to get the house painted? When are you going to get those carpets steamed? Oh my God, my boss just gave me another Guess what? I don't care what you're doing. That enters your brain. It goes into your subconscious. So you're passively subjected by your environment. You've got a roommate that can't do anything right. That affects your passive. And then you've got passive with control. So you can control some of those things even though they're going to remain passive. Then you have, got a lawn drawing through it because I circled passive and passive control. But we've got proactive. This is very important for you to understand, and this becomes more relevant later in the presentation. Proactive means you can control it. You can actually program your subconscious mind. And there's several ways of doing that. One of it is with self-development, which is why I don't care if you're on the IBO side or you're on the trader side. Everybody that's above, your level, as far as progress or tenure, is going to tell you to do self-development. Read your books. Active self-talk. If you have positive active self-talk, that is a way of programming your brain. Negative self-talk. Oh my God, every time I enter this kind of trade, I get stopped out. Every time I'm on the US yen, I always get stopped out when I trade at this time. Well, it's programming the RIS, and as I said in the beginning, law of attraction, the real law of attraction, you create it yourself. You create the negative, that brings you more negative. You create the positive, that brings you more positive. And you know, for a long time, I've used the cherry Kool-Aid example. You buy a packet of cherry Kool-Aid or fruit punch Kool-Aid, and let's call that negative. And you put it in a glass of water, that glass of water is definitely fire engine red. You put it in the whole pitcher of water, it's still red, pretty intense. Go put it in your bathtub. Fill your bathtub with water and put that packet of Kool-Aid in there. It's still going to be pink. You're going to see a tint of it. But take it out to your pool or a neighbor's pool or a public pool. Don't get caught. Don't tell them Steve Greger sent you. And dump that packet of Kool-Aid in the pool and just, slush it around, splash your hands. And in a couple of minutes, it's gone. You don't even know it was in the pool. So what that means is we're going to have consistent negativity in our life, but you could dilute it with self-development. Now, in more recent times, we have affirmations with an O, not an I. Affirmations are like an affirmation instead of extending it in the present tense. Winning trades come to me frequently. That would be an affirmation. An affirmation is asking it in the form of a question, because science has proven that your brain prefers to be asked questions. So, why do so many winning trades come my way? Your mind will go to solve that. That's why affirmations, just out within the last, 8-10 years. Binaural beats is a real cool thing. And essentially, this is a way of getting at your theta brainwave, affecting both sides of your brain, and auto-suggestion there as well. So there are professional companies that provide, binaural beats solutions. So self-development, hey, books, YouTube videos, CDs, DVDs, seminars, conferences, chats with somebody above you, whether you're IBO or trader, somebody that you aspire to be, see if they'll hook up with you for a few minutes now and then, just to pump you up some, just to put some positive. Anything you can do to dilute that negative Kool-Aid is going to help you. All right? So, your mind is filled with all this stuff from your past. It's acting as an editor. Now, this is going to make a little bit more sense when we start talking about RAS and our sensory information gateways over here on the left. So let's continue moving over. So our results come in. They direct our belief. We can overcome some of these results. See, we can say, oh, I had another stinking stop out, and we can add to the programming that's already there in our mind, or we can move it into something positive rather than let it being a loss. Gee, I'm really looking forward to learning, how to do this. And it eases up from the programming on the negative side. And then you read self-development, Read about traders who, I had a trader a couple years back when I was at FX Trainer, and in about 13 to 14 months, he was at $5 million. Well, where did he start? He was pretty transparent. When he started training, he had to scrape up the money from friends and family to buy the course, and he was eating out of the trash bin from behind Safeway grocery store. He admitted it. He didn't have money for food. He jumped from house to house, friends, relatives, family, whoever let him stay there for 1, 2, 3 days. But his goal was to trade, and there was nothing stopping him. Everything became positive. He wasn't going to allow the negative to influence his life. The challenge is we don't have that control. We don't, whatever's in our mind is what's going to manifest in our reality. So if you've had negative programming from the past, if you contribute to more negative programming through environmental programming, if you don't do the self-development and the efforts with things like affirmations and binaural beats and meditations, and you don't give yourself active self-talk, your future is in the hands of your subconscious, which is already negative. And then you add to it, it's just compounding. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. You add to it with negative self-talk. I can't do this. I just can never get it right. Every trade I take never works. You're not going to get any better. You're just not going to get any better. You are programming your brain with every single result and every single action and every single word and every person you associate with. You are programming your brain. And the sooner you learn that, the better off you're going to be. So we have these results come in from whatever actions we were taking. We have a positive attitude about them. Now we have to have a belief set. And your results help dictate that belief. Now there's a little side spiral over here. I call it the mental triad. It's ego, sensory information gateways, and law of attraction. And the sensory information gateways, I'm not going to say any one of these is more important than anything else, but it's probably the one with the least amount of knowledge for your average trader. All right? So we're going to go through this in a little bit more detail in a second or two, but just understand how these interact. If you have negative self-talk, you are programming your brain, and your RAS is going to use that in the future. Now, what is RAS? It's one of three major sensory information gateways that we have. And it stands for the reticular activation system. It sits in the thalamus. And here's what it does. We get bombarded with information. Information coming in this way. Got my face over here with my eyeballs looking at that information. Your RAS, which is housed in your thalamus, often called the thalamic gateway, that gateway processes information based on your subconscious recording. All this stuff. That's why it's called the editor. So what happens is, what gets stored, be it the emotion you put on it as it got stored, positive or negative, the impact you think you have from it, okay, past results, your belief set, all this huge list of things. Now, what the RAS does is this. As miraculous as our brain is, and as fast as our subconscious can process, and you're going to learn later exactly how fast it processes, it's still too much information for our brain to handle. So the RAS has to take this big bandwidth of information that we see and narrow it down. And it does that by screening out and filtering in on whatever's in our subconscious mind. You don't have a say in it. You have no say in it. I'll say it one more time. You have no say in it. It's an automatic response based on what's in your brain. Let me give you a non-trading example. If you are a hardcore sold out, I'm speaking in American politics. If you're a hardcore sold out conservative Republican, when there is news, be it news channel on TV, be it in the newspaper, be it on Facebook, of something really good coming from a democratic, liberal, progressive individual or institution, you're going to filter that out. You're going to screen out that information because it does not align with your beliefs. And the exact opposite is true. If you love football, if you're European or elsewhere in the world, you love your soccer, and somebody talks about, American basketball, probably don't know what it is because you keep screening it out. You love football so much, you love soccer so much, you're not going to pay attention to the stuff about football because it's not in your belief set. It's not in the things you like. It's not what's been in your past. Get screened out. So you'll never learn more about American basketball. Your mind's too preoccupied with, European or Asian, whatever, soccer. Kind of interesting. So it's a very huge screener. The amount of information coming in exceeds the bandwidth of what our brain can handle. So there's an automatic system that filters in and screens out information that's being presented to us. Guess what? This is 100% true in the trading world. Interesting thing about the subconscious, it can't determine false from real. It can't determine lies from truth. All it does is look at your dominant thoughts, and that's what programs your RAS to screen in or screen out and filter in. So if you are in a system and you've lost 4 trades in a row and you sit there and say, man, I just can't get anywhere with this system, and you're back on the charts and you have another potential for your system trade, your crew is going to honor what you think, believe, and say. Your results, 4 in a row losses. Your talk, negative. Your belief, negative. So your crew goes, Billy Bob here doesn't want to win a trade, so we're not going to show him the things that it takes to win the trade. We're only going to show him the things on how to lose the trade because those are the dominant thoughts in his head. It's automatic. We'll discuss one other member of the sensory information gateway here in a few minutes, but realize this triad, your RAS dictates your future. You want to understand law of attraction? All these guys that teach, look, I got certifications in law of attraction. I've read a lot about it. I watched The Secret when it came out. I was reading and selling The Master Key System by Charles Hannell back in 1998, like 7 years before Rhonda Burns ever dreamed of The Secret. And that book was used in The Secret. It was one of 2 books used in The Secret. So I understood law of attraction. And it's not the blue genie. It's not ask and you shall receive. I love, Abraham, Esther Hicks. It's not quite as simple as just ask. There's more physiology that goes on there. So you have to understand this physiology. And one last thing, any of these thoughts that you have are filtered by emotion. And this is real crucial to trading. So what gets processed, excuse me, what gets processed gets magnified by emotion. So we move from belief back to potential. From belief. If we're talking about belief on the positive side, you've got to have faith in that belief. And you have to remember what faith means. If you're on a mission and failure is not an option, Michael Jordan, you don't start questioning your belief system. You don't allow your belief system to retreat and start going, well, I wonder if I will get this. Boom, programming the RAS. Our captain is wondering if he's going to get this. We better not show him all the stuff he needs to guarantee he gets it.
Let's show him some of the stuff that, may prevent him from getting it. Because that's what he just ordered us to do when he said, I wonder if I'll get this or not. You have to have faith. Your goals, your belief in what it is you're trying to accomplish, you have to go step in a time machine, advance it to whenever your goal is supposed to have happened. I want to be, a $100,000 a year trader in 18 months. And some of you are already laughing. That's not fast enough for me. But you want to be a $100,000 a year trader in 18 months. So you go in that time machine, you go ahead 19 months. And you hover over yourself. You're not yourself. You're watching it as a third person. And you see yourself walking around doing a transfer from your trading account to your bank account. And you do a big transfer and you look at the money still in your trading account and it's over $100,000. You've achieved your goal. You see it because you're in the future and you saw yourself having achieved the goal. See, what that does then is it reduces the obstacles and challenges that you encounter. Because if you program yourself to see yourself in that time machine in the future having achieved your goal, it means whatever obstacle you have, you already overcame because you're already the $100,000 trader 19 months from now. So that goal, that challenge, that obstacle, it's just a joke. Bottom line, you have to have an inevitability in your belief system. Because that's what allows you to have failure as not an option. That's what allows you to push, persist until success happens. I know Darren Hardy says push until something happens. Well, I don't like something. Something could be negative. So I want to push. I want to persist until success happens. So those are the things that allow you to push. Now you're back at your potential. And if you've run this right as the circle goes round, as the spiral goes round, you now have more potential than you did when you were here the first time. When you have more potential, you're going to have a likelihood of taking stronger and bigger actions. When you take stronger and bigger actions and you do it with a plan and you have massive action and you put momentum into it, you're going to get better results. When you get better results, it increases your belief set. When you increase your belief set, your raw potential, boom, spiral. I went on mute. No, I didn't. Refresh your page. So that's the spiral effect via the law of spirals. Very significant, which is why I spent that time on it. Okay, we got to accelerate it now. So, this is an exponential curve. You must understand what the exponential curve is in order to succeed in your learning, and you must understand the exponential curve in order to understand how your profits will grow in your account, and you have to understand the dangers. See, the exponential curve is real, but you have to understand the dangers in it. And if you look back at that penny doubling, excuse me, if you look at some of the examples I gave, 2 weeks ago, gaining 5 pips a day, $5,000 account, all disclaimers at www.tradingdisclaimers.com hold true in terms of risk and income discussions. You have a $5,000 account, you're going to put 2% into your risk, and we're going to use a 10 pip stop loss because we're new paradigm traders and we can get in there very tight. When you get just 5 pips a day net, that equals a 1% return. And when compounded, not hypothetically, mathematically, 5 pips a day compounded 5 days a week, 24 months, it's $1.4 million. So you don't need to trade the pound yen on the London session chasing 100 pip trades. All you need is 5 pips a day. However, in the first many of those months, just like in the penny doubling, you don't see any change in your results. It looks like the same. As I go period to period to period, it looks the same. The compounding really isn't kicking in yet. This is the same thing with learning. This is the same thing with going to the gym on January 2nd. And I did all the exercises and I did all the cardio, and I come home and I look in the mirror and I flex my arms and my guns haven't gotten any bigger. So, hey, was today really worth it? I don't see any results. So you give it another day and another day. At the end of the week, you look, you still don't have a six-pack stomach and your guns aren't big. And so you decide, it seems like whether I go or not doesn't make a difference. And Monday night or Monday afternoon, your buds from work call, your bros or your sisters or whatever it is you hang with. Hey, Billy Bob, we're going to grab a beer after work today. And you're like, man, I'm not supposed to, be partying while I'm working out. I've got a 90-day goal. I've got a 30-day goal, whatever your goal is. And part of it include, and you sit there, well, you know what? I worked every day I went to the gym every day last week and, haven't gotten any bigger, haven't lost any weight, haven't toned up any. I guess it's not going to matter if I skip just this once. You just programmed your brain that it's okay to skip going to the gym. And the next time you're confronted with something, your loyal crew will always obey your orders. And now you come up with, oh man, I had a hard afternoon at work today. I'm really tired. And your brain kicks in and goes, it's okay. You don't have to go to the gym, remember? It doesn't make any difference. So you don't go. So you end up stagnant here. And I could tell you, when you hear statistics about, in the Forex, there's this big 95% failure rate. Not true. Not true. This is not people dusting their account. A good part of this, and I can't, I don't have the clinical studies to throw an exact amount on it or empirical studies, but just what I know firsthand, I would say more than 50% of those that quit is they burn out in the curve. In the learning curve. That guy going to the gym after he stops going and he stops going, next thing you know, he's not going at all. He burn out. He doesn't have the dream. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't understand how the exponential curve works with compounding, and they burn out. Now here's the biggest reason they burn out. One, you come over here. One, they don't understand the curve. Two, this is a huge part of this 50%. They take their self-made expectations. Self-made means there's no basis for the expectation other than what they think, hope, wish, dream. Does that make sense? Self-made expectations are not met. Now, you go to a tenured, a seasoned trader and say, this is what I want to do. Now, sometimes we just have to deal with life. I have traders come to me every week. My job's winding down and, I have a chance to quit in 90 days. Can I be making $10,000 a month in my trading in 90 days? Now I have to compliment them because at least they had enough chutzpah to ask. Common sense. I'd say 75% of the traders don't. Self-made means they made their expectations in a vacuum. Unfortunately, for some percentage of those, they were facilitated by somebody selling a bill of goods on how fast they were going to get rich. That's the part that we just have to accept as life. But most traders burn out in the flat part of the curve. One, not understanding the curve. And two, they have expectations that are self-made that, 95% of your seasoned traders couldn't make. Yes, that's it's what's called 100% reinvestment. I'm not talking about getting 24 months having $1.4 million when you've pulled out money. Now, if you were in the show, the presentation 2 weeks ago, when we talked about that, we talked about the $5,000 account, 1% a day, regardless of how you're running your stop loss or risk, but you're achieving net 1% a day. And we go 24 months, and it was $1.4 million. Now, it's not, that's not hypothetical, that's math. It is hypothetical depending on other environment. Now, we showed an example of pulling out $2,500 for a trip to the Caribbean, or Caribbean, as some of you may say, and $7,500 for an engagement ring. So that trader pulled out $10,000, and just that $10,000 pulled out from that account at the end of 24 months, they were down to I don't remember the exact number, but it was $876,000. It was something crazy. That $10,000 that they pulled out equaled, $500,000. So compounding works to the positive and it works to the negative. And I joked during that session about all these guys, traders that used to boast about, oh, I pulled out $10,000 from my account. Oh, I pulled out $10,000 from my account. One, they do not understand compounding. Two, they don't understand the curve. And when you do that, you eventually you take out another 10 and another 10. And what you're going to end up with is, $100,000 after 2 years. All you've done is change jobs. It's not an abundance creator. It's just a job. Your job is trading. We'll pay you $100,000 to work in the corporate office 80 hours a week, or we'll pay you $100,000 to trade 40 hours a week. Sounds like a great deal. I have to work half the time, but bottom line is, it's still a job at that point. So you need to understand this curve. You need to read the compound effect. You need to read the slight edge if you haven't already. Trader expectations. Traders must have realistic expectations about their potential returns and understand that every unit of profit is accompanied with a unit of risk. Unrealistic expectations may lead a trader to commit certain mistakes that those with greater experience and realistic expectations may not commit. We'll talk about this is a direct aspect, a direct reality of RIS and your sensory information gateways. So that brand new trader signs up and, boom, he makes his expectations and here's his goal, and all of a sudden he runs into this reality. It's quite a journey then to success. Well, Sims, you're coming with inadequate knowledge. Because we don't go for 3 or 5 pips with a 20 pip stop loss. There are some strategies that do that. We don't do that in this group for all the reasons in the world. And that, worst of all, for a brand new trader. So I'm not gonna comment on other trading systems. I'll just say in this channel, in this group, we do not trade for 3 or 5 pip targets with a 20 or 25 pip stop loss. If you want to do that, you're on your own. As a newer trader, I wish you luck, because you're going to need it. That's not an inference on your skill set. That's an inference on the physiology of how your brain works. So what you want to do as a trader is learn the math. Learn the math. If I were to say you have 10 minutes to write a report and email it to me, and if you do, I'll give you $100. And what that report's going to say is you want to make $5,000 a month pulled out of your account and still have a 20% return after you pull your money out, and you're starting with $2,500. Tell me how you're going to do that. What kind of trades, what number of pips, how are you going to do it? And I dare say 95 to 98% of you couldn't do that. So you have to learn math. I don't know why people think they can come to the Forex, which is a financial market. Let me say that again, financial, and they don't understand math. Well, I didn't think it was necessary. People are trying to replace job incomes, and they can't tell me how they do it because they haven't looked at the math. And you know why? Well, I'm not good at that kind of math. Program. Crew, don't show him how he could do it because he's already told you he doesn't want you to show him how to do it. So screen out anything that's there that could help him. You have to learn the math. Then you have to do the math. You have to understand the compound effect. And you have to transition your trading expectations from guessing, hoping, and needing. And artificial, self-made expectations set in a vacuum. In 6 months, I will be making this much money. Oh yeah? Show me the spreadsheet on how you calculated that. What's that based on? If it's not, you are living in the secret. You are talking to the blue genie. And good luck to you. You have to make it based on reality, which means you have to understand the math and you have to make a plan. Hate to break it to you. Damn, that guy is Grizzly. I heard he's called the Grizzly. Yep. Dream big, set goals, take action. I could always tell who's done their work on dreams and goals because they rarely complain. They don't have obstacles. They eat obstacles for breakfast because the dream is bigger. If you're going to let an obstacle challenge you, all you're saying is, my goal is not big enough. And so when traders come to me with obstacles, I know they have very small dreams because the bigger the dream, the smaller the obstacles. And conversely, the bigger the obstacles, the smaller the dream. So if you don't have big dreams, you're going to burn out. You're going to be part that dies in that flat part of the curve. Zoe's like, that ain't nothing. You want to see Grizzly. Yeah, so you got to have big dreams. And then set the goals because the goals put it into plan. A lot of my traders use the old system I have called Goal Maker. But guess what? That's not about Goal Maker. What I wanted to show you here is that this is written space. This is not typed up in an app. This is not typed up in a website and then you could print it out. This is to use handwritten goals. And there's a reason for that, which makes all of the digital goal apps a piece of crap. And the reality is they don't understand the brain. When you write, physically write versus type, you create neural connections. This is part of the reality of neuroplasticity. You actually grow your brain space for your goal. When you have an end of day review and you're planning tomorrow, I know you don't do that, right? And you're planning tomorrow and you look at today, well, I got a question mark by this because I didn't finish this task. I got a question mark by this because I didn't finish that task. Tomorrow, when you plan your day in the morning, when you get up and you had your coffee, you've done your power hour, however you want to work in the morning, and you come to your planner, you write those down. You write them down again. If you're smart, you have an affirmation book. Could be the reverse of a journal. You have an affirmation book, and every day you write down your principal affirmations. Write them down. You don't look what you wrote down once. You don't look what you typed up once. You want to put neuroplasticity to work to concretize what it is you want in your brain, so when your RAS gets invoked, it becomes the dominant thought. Because RAS gets programmed by repetition. Repetition. Now, I know I got some traders in here. Zoe, I think I saw Theo. Think back to your green level trades. I know you guys don't know what a green level trade is, but just watch the response you get here. Zoe, Theo, anybody else that's taken Shredder SFX, how many green level trades should you take before you're allowed to move on to bronze? 1. And then bronze 2. And then gold, and then silver, and then platinum. Look at that. 100 green level trades. I'll show you what a green level trade is. It's not a trade. It's a potential entry. There's an indicator. Don't worry about what it is. That's not the deal right now. There's an indicator, and inside that indicator, we have 2 waves. One is blue. The other's purple. I don't have purple, so I'm going to use red. And the trade is when the red wave touches the blue wave at this extreme, and then you have 2 pips of pullback, you have a trade. So I have traders that'll take about 15 of those, and they go, hey, Steve, can I move on to bronze? I think I got this. And I'm like, I'm confused. You know, the instructions say take 100 of those. Yet the trader thinks they've mastered it with 20 trades. We'll understand the difference here shortly. So write down your goals. Let's look at the typical learning pyramid. There's, you can search these all over, and they're going to be 99% the same. And you've heard this, since early days. Since multimedia has come along, rather than just black ink on white paper, or in the old days, white chalk on a green board or blackboard, the more versatile and diverse the media, the stronger our retention. I see and I forget. I hear and I remember. I do and I understand. Tendency to remember, 10% of what we read. So what happens when I say, Everybody should read The Compound Effect. And somebody will send me a private note. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that book. I read it 8 months ago. Good. Time for a pop quiz on The Compound Effect. As a new trader, you should have read The Compound Effect maybe 3 or 4 times this year, your first year, at least. 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we hear, what we see. Oh, I saw Steve do that thing the other day in the IML TV. Being able to repeat it is pretty good. Here we go. 90% of what we say and do. We read, we hear, we see, we practice. That's what this is. And then we apply it on the charts, but repeatedly. The repetition is what makes it dominant as a focus part of your brain. So let's talk about some brain facts. Some of these are just fun trivia to know. A couple are pretty alarming. Such as just 5% dehydration, your brain's 30% less efficient. Just 5%. 10% dehydration, your brain's 50% less efficient. And guess what? We're not talking about you crawling on the ground, your lips chapped and cracking and bleeding, and you're so fatigued you can't move because I'm dehydrated. No, you're not going to know that you're 10% dehydrated. You're not going to know it. So all these things, they say drink this, drink that. I'm okay. I never feel dehydrated. You won't know when you're 10% dehydrated. You're operating at 50% efficiency. You're not born hardwired. Once you're born, your environment programs you. And that is hardwired. And it builds, however that passive environment is, whatever that environment is, and it builds, and it does get hardwired. So then you have to go on a mission to rewire your brain. Interesting thing about the brain, my daughter, when she was looking to be, to go med, and she graduated with her bachelor's degree, she wanted to wait a year or two to go to medical school. In the meantime, she went ahead and got advanced certifications, at school, just shy of a master's in neuroscience. I'm like, what's neuroscience? So she started explaining it to me. It's what's happened in the last 10 years with our understanding of the brain is just incredible. And that's why you see this down here. 98% of what we know about the brain we've learned in the last 8 years. 80% of things before 1990 have been found to be false. So the understanding of brain, is fairly new. It's the last decade. Okay. It's the last decade. Let's keep advancing here. We're doing okay. So there's several aspects to the brain, but we're only going to worry about the gatekeeper down here. There's actually 3 of them. I hate medical terms. They never follow pronunciation as they should. So let's look at the amygdala, the hippocampus, and so the thalamus is in the hippocampus. The thalamus houses your RAS. It is the thalamic gateway. And
interesting pronunciation here, if I get it right, those of you in the medical field maybe. The D becomes a Y, so it's like the caudate nucleus. We're not going to worry about this right now. We get too medical, too complex, and it's not relevant to what we want to talk about in terms of the reticular activation system. But the amygdala is significant. So we have the thalamus, part of this gatekeeper system, which is why we call them the sensory information gateway. And there's 3 components to it, just as it says. The amygdala has a very important function. Now listen to this closely. Remember what RAS is. It's a filtering, right? It's a screening mechanism. So it screens in and out relevant information based on dominant thought, based on belief, based on dominance and repetition. The RAS screens in and out. Now, the amygdala is an emotional reactionary. So let me see. I think I've got more of this covered. Let's talk about the subconscious mind. Hopefully we're going to come back to the amygdala. If we don't, I'll go back to that page. So your subconscious mind is 5/6 of your brain mass. It controls pretty much almost all of neuroscience studies today, 98% of your perception and behavior. Now remember, that's not just a fact. What that means is 98% of your behavior / actions is automatic without you knowing about it. You don't control it. You don't control it. Now, those of you with ego are going to have a hard time believing you really only control 2% of your actions. Not me. That's everybody else, but that's not me. Physiology is physiology, my friends. Okay? Physiology is physiology. So, 98% of your actions are automatic. And those actions are based on your RAS, which does this filtering. Your subconscious mind sees in pictures and patterns. Oh my gosh, put an asterisk by that. If you're taking notes, in the old days, when I would do presentations and I'd get to something of emphasis, old days, yeah, before Windows, I used to say F6, F8. I'd say sees in pictures and patterns, F6, F8. Because in the word processors back then, F6 was bold, F8 was underline. So if I wanted something to have emphasis, I'd say F6, F8. So your subconscious mind sees in pictures and patterns. Cannot tell the truth from a lie. Cannot tell. But your crew goes to work to deliver regardless of whether it's true or a lie. I'm not pretty enough for him to ask me out. Guess what? Your brain believes it. Doesn't matter whether it's reality or not. Doesn't matter whether it's real or imagined. It believes as true every image you send it. Positive and negative. All right, so here we go. I thought this slide was in here. So reticular activation system, it's your personal search engine for A-list goals. A-list goals, A-list beliefs, A-list results. It directs every sensory impulse that is received. Remember, you're screening out tons of stuff. It's got to come through that gateway in order for it to be processed in the brain. So your A-list gets automatic, non-conscious attention and sends that to the conscious mind. That's all the conscious mind is going to be given. So if your RAS has screened out stuff relative to a trade, it's never going to get to your conscious mind. And you'll understand why that has to work that way from a physiological standpoint in just a second. But let's talk about the amygdala, because this is kind of special. And you'll understand this really quickly. Shaped like an almond. So the amygdala has tremendous power over your perceptions and actions. When your amygdala senses potential and real stress, it orders the release of neurotransmitters in response, causing you to have doubt, fear, and anxiety. Now, here's the thing about the amygdala. It also has an interesting side function. So this is to the negative. The amygdala, and this is recent, this is only in the last 2 to 3 years that they've realized the positive side of this. And there's some reason for that. And that's because a lot of the neuroscience studies have at their genesis trying to understand brain trauma. So a lot of the initial studies, and I say initial, it's not like 50 years ago, it's only in the last 5 to 10. But a lot of the initial studies were all about brain trauma. What are the results? What are the impacts? And so that's how they learn these various functions in the brain based on, oh, this accident or this trauma affected this section of the brain, and we can tell by how that person reacts. In the last literally 1 to 2.5 years, there's been a whole bunch of study to the positive. And what they revealed, those studies have revealed, is that it's equal in power, tremendous power, not just over things that cause you to be stressed and have doubt, fear, and anxiety, but for joy, for elation, for happiness, for pride. All these things, the amygdala works in the same way. So the bottom line there is the amygdala, to both the positive and the negative, operates the same way. And here's what it does. And now you'll understand some things about trading. When your RAS scans, and it's going to let this information come through, and it's going to screen this out. Nope, don't want you. It's not in my belief set. Oop, I don't believe that. Oop, my mama told me this. Oh, my girlfriend said that. Oh, I got stopped out in that trade. The stuff that does come in to your brain through the RAS, one of the jobs of the RAS, once it allows it, is to route it to the appropriate places. When you have positiveness and negativeness, or either or, your amygdala's function is to shut down what your RAS does with these signals. Its job, when it's positive or negative, is to shut down your RAS. Shut it down. So you're a well-trained trader. You've learned a particular system, and you've gone from demo, and now you're live trading, and it's, Monday night, Tuesday, whatever your first trading day is, Sunday night, depends on where you're located around the globe. And you take a trade, and you make 15 pips. And that's good because you have a tight stop loss. You do not even know it, but subconsciously, that joy floods the amygdala with adrenaline and endorphins. The amygdala goes, uh-oh, there's really good positive stuff here. I'm going to shut down the RAS. And now you go to take another trade and you totally bomb because what's being allowed to come inside now is out of whack because it doesn't get processed. You win a trade. Depending on your maturity, depending on your personal structure, but if your amygdala senses any kind of happiness, and it's going to get flooded with things that tell it that, it automatically shuts down. Your RAS is still going to do the screening job, but once it gets through that gate, your amygdala shuts it down. It's not allowed to be processed as sensory information. So this is why a lot of times you'll get a good trade and you go back right afterwards and try and trade and you mess up. You give away those pips. I have so many traders, I can show them day after day. There are 20 opportunities for 5 pips today. How come you don't have 5 pips at the end of the day? Well, I got 7 pips in a trade and I thought that pair still had more move. -5. Well, what happens on the negative side? Same thing. These neurotransmitters get in. The amygdala goes, uh-oh, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's fear. Better shut this stuff down. Doesn't let it get into the brain. You're now trading without the information coming to you. You can't see it. Next thing you know, -6, -3. And now you see a whole string of these. I'm going, well, what happened? I get this 5, but what about the rest? Well, now we're revenge trading. Now you have emotion in there with unregulated sensory information coming to your brain. It's not going anywhere where it needs to be properly processed. And obviously, if you end that day or you take that trade, and again, if you're trading something other than what we trade in this group, and you're down 15 pips or you go down 20 pips, you go right back to it, revenge trading. So you've heard these terms before. You've heard don't be greedy. You've heard don't revenge trade. I'm explaining physiologically why it happens. So once you understand the physiology, be like Mr. T. I pity the fool that loses a trade and goes right back and tries to trade more. Because your physiology will not allow it to work. And it's a fool or an egotist that's going to try. You're going to believe this whole thing about physiology applies to every other trader except you. And then layer that with false expectations made in a vacuum. I got to get some pips because that mortgage payment's due, and I robbed the mortgage payment, convinced my wife to, blah, 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 blah. So now you're revenge trading, you have all false expectations. What do we call all this now that comes along? That's called desperate trading. You're in desperation mode. And when you're in desperation mode, there is what? Stress and anxiety. What does your amygdala do? Shut down the RAS. I hope you're getting this. I hope you're seeing something here. I'm going to leave this up for about 7 seconds. You can go back in a recording and take a screenshot. I wouldn't try and do it now, but I've got a better way of talking about this. I'm trying to track my time. So I want to talk about the numbers. By the numbers. Conscious mind versus the subconscious mind. Now check this out. Your conscious mind, only about 2% of your behavior and actions are controlled by your conscious mind. 98% of your behavior and actions controlled by your subconscious mind. Automatic, based on your RAS filtering. Check it out. Operates at about 40 bits per second. Operates out about 20 million bits per second. Runs at about 100 to 150 miles per hour. Runs at 100,000 miles per hour. You need to walk away from the charts long enough that you're back to normal. Go take a walk. Walk your dog. Walk around the block. If you're still thinking about the last trade to the negative when you sit back down, you need to take another walk or come back tomorrow. But I got to make that mortgage payment. See? FOMO, fear of missing out, desperation based on false expectations. It's just going to drive your account further down. It's worth taking the hit of no more trades today. The odd thing is, if you can make 1%, and I don't care if you make 25 pips on a 50 pip stop loss, I don't care if you make 5 pips on a 10 pip stop loss, 1% a day net, and in 24 months, it's $1.4 million if you haven't pulled anything out, and that's not good enough for you. Where are you now? Where's your $1.4 million now? It's not good enough for you in 2 years? Seriously? So I get my 1%, and now I have to put my whole physiology to work, which is working against me. Again, that's only an egotist that's going to do that. See, what I'm telling you here about physiology, this is absolute. There's no, there's gray. No. It applies to 27% of the population, but not me. No. If you're a human and you haven't had, brain trauma, this is how you function. So you best learn how you function if you want to be a successful trader. Yes, that's correct, Mark, and we're going to get to that exact phrase. So let's come down, operates, blah, 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 100,000 miles an hour. It is slow processing on the conscious side. The subconscious mind's 500,000 times faster. 500,000 times faster. Very small portion of the brain mass we learned over here. The subconscious side, 5, 6 or more. That's why conscious willpower will never compete and never beat your subconscious mind. You have to reprogram yourself. Willpower is not going to work. It'll work in the short term. Depending on the subject and the matter, willpower can work in the short term. It doesn't work in the long term. People trying to lose weight and they're trying to use willpower, not going to work. There's underlying issues in programming in their brain they've got to get to. Willpower is not going to win. In the conscious mind, we think we control what we want. It doesn't work that way. The subconscious mind, it's what we get. The subconscious mind manifests our reality based on that database in our subconscious memory, in those data banks. It decides. That's why it's called the editor. It edits your life. Your subconscious, 98% plus, controls your life, and it forces you to see what it wants you to see. Not what you want to see, what it wants you to see. And then people are so lazy about, I don't need to do self-development. I don't need to go to conferences. I don't need to watch Tony Robbins. I don't need to do meditation. I don't have time for it. Binaural beats. I don't have money for a headset. Blah, 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 blah. 98% of their life is controlled by their subconscious, which forces you to see what it wants you to see. However, the good news is, while it's hard wiring, you get to reprogram it if you want. Your brain can be reshaped. You can create new connections for new positive things in your life. That's essentially the definition of neuroplasticity. Trader's mind. These have been around for years. Again, there's lots of examples of this all over the place, but kind of fun to look at. In the next uptrend I'll get out. I don't want to get out with a loss. It's too late to sell now. How come price only drops? Everything remained bullish and I am too. A heck of a buying level. We'll buy now. We'll buy more contracts. I'll average it out. Now I can't sell anymore. This loss has become too big. What's wrong? Why am I so unlucky? Hear all the self-talk? Hear all the programming? We must be at absolute bottom. False understanding, false expectation. No, now the dollar plunges as well. I love all these. Who cares about the price move? Move again. Short term, we'll go down again. Everything according to plan. Sell now. Sell now. Yippee, let's buy again. Who said trading is difficult? Profit taking, can't be wrong. Sell. I'll sell 100 contracts short here. Bad weather, lower crop forecast. They didn't fool me this time. Sell another 100 contracts. Price moving up. If the price comes to my break-even point, I'll cover. Oh, damn broker. How high can it go? Oh, shit. I like that. It can't go higher. This is terribly overdone. Why always me? More programming to the negative. Urgent call to my broker and buy cover help. Yeah. So that's your average trader. All of it being guided by his subconscious programming, and how his RAS is continuing to do wrong. He wants differently consciously, but his RAS isn't been instructed to do that. You haven't given it the right orders. All right, so we're winding down some absolute realities. Hang on there. There's a punchline coming. Our subconscious mind is programmed to our favor with self-development efforts, written goals, repeated vision boards, binaural beats, positive thinking, elimination of negative exposures, be that associates or activities, positive self-talk, and positive habits. There's some ways you can program just the general mental state, your attitude. RAS filters on attitude. Binge trading, binge training, binge videos, binge studying does not program the subconscious mind. So many traders, I've got, whether it's the Pitchfork course or some of my other courseware, and there's, 15, 20 modules, and, somebody says, oh, I'm going to attack some of the modules this weekend, and then Monday morning they send me an email. It was raining, so we watched all the videos in the program last night, over the weekend. And I'm like, oh, good luck. There was no programming done. And if there's no programming done to the subconscious, what's going to happen when you go to the charts? Your RAS isn't going to function. It's not going to show you what to do. It doesn't matter how many times I tell people, don't rush, slow down. Oh, I got the ego. I can handle it, ego. Demo trading, especially in the new trader stage, should not be attempted before the full system is proven and, excuse the comma, understanding of criteria, indicators understood, and clarification verified by mentors. In other words, you want to be able to explain to somebody how the system works. You want to be able to go to the chart and do a presentation, do a Zoom presentation to your mentor and say, this is how the indicators work. And when they say, well, what about this? You don't go, oh, I don't know. And when they say, what about that? You don't go, well, I don't know. How do you learn that stuff? Volumes of demo trades. Volumes of demo trades programs your subconscious. Your subconscious dictates what your RAS allows in and allows out. If you have not programmed your subconscious, your RAS is not going to give you good trades. And the bad trades is going to give you more of them. Traders cannot correct their own mistakes. Said this many times. You can't be the student and the teacher that grades your paper too. You need extra eyeballs. Now I'm going to make a statement here, and I don't mean offense to anybody. And I don't want you to hate me for this statement. Because I appreciate initiative. But I have dozens and dozens of examples of IBOs who have teams and they don't know how to trade, but they're teaching their teams how to trade. And I say they don't know how to trade because I know they haven't taken 500 of those trades. where they would see the nuances in the indicator. They would see the DNA of the pair, where it operates a little differently on the sell than it does the buy. They don't see that, and they're out teaching other people. I've seen it. I've got dozens and dozens of cases of it going on. Not a good thing. See, you're still a student until you know the system and you're trading it live consistently. I don't mean you just flip the switch with live, but you're trading it live consistently with hundreds and hundreds of trades. Now you're ready to go teach people. For an individual trader, initial demo trading should not be about winning. That negatively programs the subconscious. You don't try and win, because that's going to make you not experiment. That's not going to allow you to learn the nuances. You're going to try and be so perfect. You just had a post recently, a goals coach post recently about perfection. Those who seek perfection in learning something destroy themselves. You can't try and demo trade to win. It negatively programs the subconscious. Therefore, your RAS is going to be crap. Still got traders. Can tell them 1,000 times. Traders still, they're building their Excel spreadsheet so they can track their demo. Demo trade should be all about flushing out what you do wrong. That's how you learn to trade. Edison, I know 10,000 ways how not to invent the light bulb. When you finish learning what you do wrong with a particular trading system, what's left is how to do it right. Oh, I know there's another group out there that wants to build a team and doesn't know how to trade or doesn't trade. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ambitious, those with initiative that want to support their traders. What's going to happen is they're going to have massive attrition because there's a false belief in they know what they're doing. Their traders aren't going to succeed, and they're going to get disgruntled, and they're going to leave. So you want to find a mentor, maybe up higher. Go to a chairman in your line and say, hey, Mr. Chairman 25, can you recommend somebody that can mentor me? And get in their trading team. Traders that are still learning cannot correct their own mistakes. And the extra eyeballs that are in those groups, they don't have the knowledge to correct the mistakes either because they're students as well. Initial demo trading, flush out what it is you don't know what you're doing wrong. Once you have your system down, demo it for volumes of trades. VOT, volumes of trades. Seek review often from your mentor. And throughout your volume of trades, seek review from your mentor. Not just the first 10 trades. Hundreds and hundreds of demo trades. Well, I can't be a $100,000 trader in 90 days if I have to take hundreds of demo trades. You're absolutely right. Now, would you rather be a $100,000 trader a year from now, or would you rather burn out, have wasted all your time and money in IML, and try and now flip real estate? Sometimes you have to accept the reality, even if it's in conflict with your expectations, which were set in a vacuum. The entire process of learning is printing your subconscious, which is why you want high volumes of demo trades. All right, some absolute realities, things traders learning should not do. Let's ask a why to each one of these. Jump from studying to demo trading. Well, again, you're probably going to fail in your demo trades. And that's going to bother you. And that's programming your subconscious. And you're going to layer that with belief. You're going to layer that with results. You're going to layer that with negative self-talk. Instead of applying the knowledge to demo trading from your studying, hook up with your mentor or your trading team and say, this is my understanding of what's happening. This is my understanding of how to use this indicator in this situation, and this situation, and this situation. So you want to have your academic understanding proven. Now, how do you get a strong academic understanding? Repetition on the studying. It's not, Hey, Steve, I did the Tab 29 training over the weekend. I went through all 30 modules. Can you give me access to the indicator so I can start demo trading? No. Let's talk about pitchforks, because that's the big thing that I teach in here. You can't go from that pitchfork course to trading. If you do, our admins will jump all over your butt. They want to see pitchforks drawn that are correct. And they will correct you in getting your pitchfork form, the highs, the swings, the kind of fork, the kinds of touches you need to see. Once you do that for 100 or 200 pitchforks, then we can talk about demo trading pitchforks. Impatience, incorrect expectations. Don't go from a few demo trades to live trade. Hey, Billy Bob, I didn't know you were live trading. Did you do your demo trades? Yeah, I spent the last 2 weeks. I did about 20 demo trades. Got to be kidding me. Desperation, fear of missing out, bad expectations get you jumping over those new systems. Trying to go live. Jumping systems, mostly because of failure. Why did you fail in a system? Because you didn't study it. You didn't get verification of your setups. You demo traded to win. You skipped most of the demo trading and went live trading. And you lost money. Oh, time to go for a new system. That system doesn't work. No, it's you that doesn't work. You knew nothing about the physiology and you tried to ignore the way your body works. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna reroute the blood that goes through my lungs and picks up oxygen and nutrients to take to the brain. I'm going to reroute that. It doesn't have to go through the heart anymore. I'm deciding the brain doesn't need the nutrients. I'll just, I'll cut those veins and arteries and put a little clamp and make them turn right around. The brain doesn't need that stuff. Guess what? It does. You can't change your human physiology, and that physiology includes how the brain works. You fail to understand, new traders fail to understand the law of distribution. Law of distribution. If I have a system that my system creator says wins 70% of the time, and I take 10 trades and I lose 6 of them. He was full of crap. I'm gonna go to another system. Here's the hardcore reality. Even though your bank account might not like it, it's still a 70% winner. It doesn't tell you of the 30% when they have to occur. It's not going to be a simple, take 10 trades, win 7. Take 10 more, win 7 more. Take 10 more, win 7 more. It might take 500 trades to achieve 70%. You might take 10 trades here and win 10. You might take 10 trades here and win 9. You might take 10 trades here and win 10. And you're thinking, damn, this is a good system. It's just the distribution of the wins and losses in the short term. That's not enough of a statistical sampling. When you take large volumes of trade, something magical happens, and it's called KSP. I'm going to talk about that in the next page. Let's finish the list of don't do's. Comparing themselves to others. Oh my gosh, I have this. I have various groups and traders will write me, message me, text me, call me, email me. I know I'm not where everybody else is. Wow. Don't do it. Everybody's circumstances are different, good and bad. You got somebody, and you know how this law of distribution works and how this works? I saw this. I'm not going to name the system, but I saw this post. Somebody said, they posted in that system's group. It was about 2 posts down from somebody who said, I just won 12 out of 13 trades with this system. Thank you, Mr. Educator, who gave us this system. They just won 12 out of 13. And this post down here was a frowny face post. I don't get what I'm doing wrong. I've lost 4 out of the 11 trades I've taken. Could be a number of possibilities. Maybe he doesn't understand the system. Maybe he skipped demo trading. Maybe his RAS stinks. Maybe he doesn't understand the law of distribution. That's why you don't want to compare yourself to others. All right, this is a big one, and some of you are not going to like this because you're going to know serious traders who do this. I'm telling you, until you've mastered your trading, and I don't mean just do this silently because you're not supposed to do it publicly. Do not forecast or predict price movement as a learning trader. I don't care if you're using support and resistance and you're mapping out market geometry. I don't care if you're looking at Fibonacci values. I don't care if you're an Elliott wave expert. I don't care if you are second in the world to Scott Carney with harmonic scans. You do not predict or forecast price movement. Why? It programs your RAS. Your crew goes to work and says, well, he thinks price is going here. We better obey his orders. So they're not going to show you the things that are happening to let you see that price isn't going there. It's physiology. Anytime you forecast or predict movement, you're programming your RAS. Don't want to do it. I don't do it. Trading 15 years. Not because I can't, because I know it's bad for my head. You don't want to put emotion into anything. I don't mean be an emotionless person. I just mean into your trading. Nothing too positive, nothing too negative. Getting close. Getting dang close. Getting to that part y'all wanted to hear. All right. Absolute realities continued. Things traders should do. Study consistently, take notes. Programming your RAS. Go back and repeat. Go back and repeat. Go back and repeat. Remember the nerd, and I'm not being genderous here. It could be either way, but I'm going to use the girl. Remember the nerdy girl in middle school or early high school? Big round glasses, pigtails, shirt half untucked in her skirt, but she took notes all day long during class. And she went home, and at night she highlighted those notes of the things I took down, which are the most important. And then she'd reread the chapter material and add a little to her notes, add a little to her highlight notes. And then she review that the next Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Friday, there's a pop quiz, and little Sally Sue gets 100 on it, and you get a 70. Oh, Sally Sue's a smarty pants. No, she's not. She just understood how to program her brain for recall, for her RAS to work. They apply what they've learned. They do the setups in terms of pitchforks. You're not anxious. You don't go through the course and 2 days later you're trading it. Oh, I got stopped out, oh my God. Go do a couple hundred pitchforks. Let the admin say, you've got this down. Ask us. Hey, Steve, I've posted a lot of pitchforks. How do you think I'm ready to demo trade? And we can go back and look at every one of your posts. We can do that in group searches and in member searches. It shows us all the posts you've made. And we can see your mastery as time has gone on. Demo trade with a volume of trade when you do demo trade. Volumes of trades. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You don't like hearing that. I know it. Because you're too anxious. Your expectations were falsely set. You don't become a trader at 90 days. Trade like a robot. You do the same thing in each time in the same situation. Do the same thing each time in each situation. You don't use RSI for one entry and then MACD for the next, and then you're measuring divergence on, stochastics. Do it the same way every time. Doesn't mean you can never mix it up. No, you can mix it up, but after you do maybe 50 or 100 trades with that setup, you want to burn it in your subconscious mind. So RAS will call it up. You do not, this should be do not use situational money management. Situational money management. Situational money management means you take the same trade 10 times and every other trade has a different money management scheme. Use one money management, trade the hell out of it, learn it. Burn it in your subconscious. Then you can switch it up for the next 50 trades. Don't do situational. Because, see, when you sit down to take a trade, you should know what your entry criteria is, and you should know what your money management and exit criteria is. You don't do the, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Oh, is that at 10 pips or is that at 50 pips? Because when you're midstream, that's when you panic. That's when anxiety comes in. What happens then? The amygdala floods the RAS and shuts it down, and now you're left without a guidance system. When you do go live, smallest position size available. One tiny fractional lot. You're never going to make any money to retire. It's not going to replace your job income, but you're getting used to real money. You increment the risk in the trade only when proven. When I mean risk here, I'm talking about the position sizing, not the actual physical percentage risk. You weed out the distribution realities by taking a volume of trades. See, you can't determine if 70% is really 70% unless your sampling size is large enough. Can't do it with 10 trades. It took 10 trades and won 7. Oh yeah, that 70% is right on. BS. Take 50, take 100 trades. And if they're all the same kind of trade with the same kind of criteria and the same kind of money management in the same situation, now you can start to put a perspective on it. KSP, knowledge of system performance. You know the win-loss ratio of the system you're trading. And therefore, losing a trade does not get your panties all in a wad. Sorry for the expression. People that get upset over 1, 2, 3 stop outs do not yet understand the knowledge of system performance for the system they're trading. And the only way you get there the amygdala, it's going to be, the amygdala picks up on it separate from what your RAS is doing. So we're not talking necessarily about body stress, although body stress will impact it. We're talking about environmental stress. Wins, losses, fight with your wife, boss gave you a hard time, you called your dog over and he looked at you and ran away. All the things that create emotion. I don't care, you're live, you've got hundreds of trades, still go to your mentor and have them reviewed. That's how you keep programming and getting better with your KSP. Understand account compounding and the impact withdrawals and deposits can make. Those are some good things. All right, we're getting close. So, for graduate school, I went to the University of Maryland, which is in College Park. Maryland. It's actually, and there's the dot representing College Park. It's really very close to Adelphi, where my parking lots were. And as you can see, I had about a 30-mile commute from my doorstep at 126 Prince George Street, right downtown Annapolis, just at the docks. Beautiful, beautiful place. 53 miles. So what happened was, very stressful commute, John Hanson Highway, Route 50, and I would get off of it rather than following it all the way into D.C. and then backtracking to College Park, Adelphi. I would get off and go through all these neighborhoods. This looks real simple here. If I zoomed in, you would see how crazy it was. You know, next stoplight, turn red. Go up to the next 7-Eleven, turn left. 3 lights up, turn right. It was crazy. And that was, as you can see, for about, you know, a third of the journey. Crazy, crazy. I think one day I counted there were 28 turns to get to the Lot 1 parking lot at the University of Maryland. I remember coming home one day after school. It was close to Christmas break. I remember this because what happened afterwards, you know, and I had Christmas gifts and, you know, relatives and all sorts of stuff on my mind because Christmas was coming. And I got out of class and I got in my car and I drove home. Here's the problem, or here's the interesting thing. When I got home in the parking lot by my house and I turned the ignition off, it's like I just woke up. I'm turning off the ignition and pulling the key out of the keyhole in the ignition, and I'm like, how did I get home? The last thing I remember was getting in my car in Lot 1 at the University of Maryland parking lot. And I'm sitting here, and it was kind of, you know, it was one of those, oh, this is cool, this is creepy. Because I'm thinking about all those 28 stoplights and stop signs that I have no recollection of driving through. None. Zero. And here I am home in my parking lot. What happened was that the pattern, see, your subconscious, remember earlier, I don't know if you recalled it, it loves to record patterns. Right? Pictures and patterns. I even stressed it when I said it because I was like, you're going to want to hear this later. Pictures and patterns, it remembers. And I came home and in my parking lot, and I swear, about 10 minutes after being home, I went inside and told my wife, I think I was abducted. And I half meant it. I had no recollection of the time. I had no recollection of the drive. I got in my car 53 minutes, 30 miles earlier, and I was home in my driveway. That was subconscious. The patterns were so distinct and so understanding of the turns and the repetition of understanding what a stoplight meant, what a red light at a stoplight meant, what a green light at a stoplight meant, what a person in the pedestrian walkway meant from years of driving, that all added to the subconscious understanding of what this pattern was of these turns, getting on John Hanson Highway, getting home. It was all subconscious. All right. So, everything that we've covered tonight, law of spirals, programming of the subconscious in your passive environment from the day you were born onward, teachers, parents from 20 years ago, comment somebody made, comment an old boyfriend or old girlfriend made, test results from that terrible whatever, chemistry, accounting, whatever exam. Your parents, oh, you'll never amount to anything. the whole law of spirals, understanding the physiology of your brain. What is the difference between a seasoned, consistently profitable trader and a trader that has not achieved consistent results? And this is the one thing from this video that you must take away. This is the punchline of this presentation. What is the difference between a seasoned, consistently profitable trader and a trader that has not achieved consistent results? This will explain a lot of things to you. Some of you aren't going to believe it, but that's okay. That's your ego. You can't change physiology just because you don't believe it. Nobody's going to try and answer. What is the difference between a seasoned, consistently profitable trader and a trader that has not achieved consistent results? Now, this answer, some of you are going to slough it off and go, I can't believe I waited 2 hours for that. Many of you are going to go, holy crap. This explains so much of why Steve says to do things the way Steve says to do them. Not persistence, not mindset, not time, not consistency. Yeah, Dallas says one makes more money than the other. I have to give, that is a true answer. Volume of trades, repetition, mentor, volume traded. Those are all good. But see, you guys have sat there all along, all tonight, and I just gave you the answer, but I'm not going to delay anymore. Here it is. The difference between a seasoned, consistently profitable trader and a trader that has not achieved consistent results is the seasoned traders trade subconsciously. New and inconsistent traders try to trade consciously. Seasoned, successful traders trade subconsciously. Now, here's a perfect example of that. I've been trading 15 years. I've been trading pitchforks 11 and a half. And I have a new trader, and I think Mark was here earlier tonight. And about, I don't know, it could have been a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I can't keep track of time. He asked a question in our Facebook group, and I didn't answer him because I went, holy crap, when he asked the question. And the question was this: Steve, when you open a chart, how do you know whether you're going to look for a traditional fork or a best fit fork, and on which swing? Because I wanted to answer his question. I don't like, and I went, holy crap, I can't answer that. Because the answer is, I don't know. He's asking me a conscious question. See, when I go, because I've drawn thousands and thousands of forks, when I open a chart, I already see the pitchfork there. I already know which swing to put it on. I already know whether it's going to have really good extended fibonacci's or warning lines. I already know that it's going to have fork fibbo touches. Because I've done it 1,000 times. Why traders fail, why traders can't trade like they're gurus, they're sitting at their desk with their checklists. Nothing wrong getting out, but I'm just explaining why it doesn't work. They're sitting there with their checklists in the process of programming their RAS, which is good. But they're sitting there with their checklist doing what? Trying to consciously trade. Do I have to go back to the slide that talks about 98%, 2%? Do I have to go back to the slide that says subconscious reality is 500,000 times faster than conscious reality? Do I have to go back to the slide that says the conscious mind can only handle a dozen or so pieces of information,
And the subconscious mind can handle 20 billion in that same millisecond. The same reason I drove home from College Park to Annapolis and didn't realize what I was doing is the same reason I don't even know I'm reaching for the pitchfork tool. It's just happening, and the pitchfork magically appears on my chart. This is why volume of trades are important. This is why you can't go from studying academically to try and instantly trade demo. This is why when you do trade demo, you only want to trade fragments or one version or variant of the system. So it programs your mind. So next time you have that same kind of system comes up, your automatic system goes to work. And the next thing you know, you're looking at your trading station. Oh, yeah, 12 pips. Now, I'm not saying you don't do some conscious action in a trade. One of the conscious actions for me, if I don't have the stop loss preset, is I do have to remember, oh, go get that stop. Don't get the ESL in there. Go get that stop loss in the trading station. Yeah, you're going to take yourself out manually, but, you know. Trade subconsciously. Now do you see, because of this misunderstanding, why new traders want to sit in a live trading room with their guru and why it doesn't work? When I first learned to trade, and I progressed pretty fast because I was coaching pretty fast. I knew how to trade a few systems. And there was a guy, I was living here in California, and there was a guy in Seattle. No. I was still in Virginia Beach, excuse me. And there was a guy in Seattle who was just killing it. I mean, killing it. And he was also a business builder in the same company I was, and he was one of the other leaders. And so I called him one day and said, hey, Steve, I want to fly up and learn what you do. And he was like, well, before you do that, let me go ahead and do a, they didn't have Zoom back then. It was just GoToWebinar. Let me do a go-to meeting with you, and I'll show you what I do. Before he did that, he sent me his system. It was about 12 steps. And so, I spent 72 hours just boom, 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 study that. We got on the computer, live charts. These were 5-minute trades, so they were frequent. We can actually cover a live trade while we were on the webinar. And he started trading, and I'm like, what in the hell is he doing? And I'd say, why did you do that? And he'd pause, and he'd go, he didn't have a good answer. And then afterwards, I was like, man, I didn't, it's like you didn't follow these steps. Oh, I followed them and then some. So I didn't see, he automatically counted candles in this one area where he counts candles. I didn't see him do it. He didn't say it out loud. I didn't see him do it. He just, oh no, I'm going to do this instead. I'm like, holy cow. And I learned afterwards what it was. He was trading subconsciously. He's, guru of the system, traded it thousands of times. He knew how to trade it. You can't consciously follow somebody who trades subconsciously. And the only way you can learn to trade subconsciously is to do the volume that reinforces it. And now my shredder traders will go, oh, I get it. Now I know why I had to do 100 green trades, even though it was purple and the blue at extreme. A third grader could see that and say that's a trade. And they get bored with it. But it's not about you feeling bored. It's about the programming you're doing in your brain. And then they move to bronze. They got to go 100 trades there. And then you go to bronze 2 and they got to do 100 trades there. I have people quit me because you know what? Oh, it takes too long. And they come right back 8 months, 18 months later. Because nothing else worked for them. Yes, but let's not talk about that right now. So, the summary is simple. Do your volume of trades.
program your subconscious mind to provide reprogramming for what's already there. Self-development. One last thing, it was up here. I don't know which slide, but I didn't mention it. Here's the cool thing about programming your subconscious. The self-development. See, the self-development is not for the Forex. The self-development is to program your mind, because you cannot compartmentalize growth and positive programming to your subconscious. You cannot compartmentalize it. Meaning, we have all these aspects to our lives. Relationships, finance, work, family, hobbies, sport, etc., church. When you grow to be a trader because you've done the right programming to your subconscious mind, and I'm talking self-development, reading, YouTube, CDs, DVDs, goal planning, meditation, affirmations, binaural beats, whatever it takes, when you program your subconscious mind to make you a positive force in trading, it will enhance exponentially all other aspects of your life. So that's it. Took a long time to get to this, but it's going to be the difference. And so, there was a guy I've been working with the past year, and we were coming to Christmas, the end of the season. I was taking off for Christmas break, winter break, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to finish up my coaching with him. And he presented me, like this PDF with 15 pages, and there were checklists for all these scenarios that could come up. And I'm like, it was a really good effort. It was a really good academic understanding of what trading some of these models were about that I teach. The trouble is, he was then going to go ahead and live trade it, and he's working from a checklist. So he's operating consciously. And the market moves too fast for you to operate consciously. The market will move faster than your brain can. And that's when you turn and get anxious. That's when you get panicked, right? That you get panicked and your amygdala shuts down. You get nervous, your amygdala shuts down. And your RAS is, it's like, driving in Washington, D.C. and your GPS shuts down. Holy crap, where are you going? You don't know. Sure, you're going to be anxious. So you want to do the things that build to subconscious decision making. Remember, the subconscious is going to force you to do what it wants to do. But in an interesting way, in an ironic way, you get to tell the subconscious what to tell you. It's like the subconscious is the producer or the director of a movie, and you're the actor, and the producer gets to tell the director what he wants done in the big picture way. The director makes it happen. So you get to play the actor, but you also get to be the producer. So you can impact, you can program your subconscious mind. If you don't, as you already know, someone else will. Or someone else already has. I hope you got something of value out of tonight. This is probably one of the most serious aspects to trading. And before you go off and build your trading plans, before you go off thinking, I have to be live trading in 90 days, which means the academic study, hundreds and hundreds of demo trades, getting eyeballs to review them, making corrections, and then starting live trading with just, pennies. It ain't going to happen in 90 days. I hate to tell you. And your rush, whether it binge watching or, trying to go through static modules, text, whatever, so many in a week, you're just flushing it through. You're not programming anything. The programming comes from your application on the charts, not watching videos. Application on the charts. And you want to start out with the setups. Get your mentor to say, yep, that's the right setup. Yep, that's the right setup. And you're going to want to fight it. You're going to want to be trading. You're going to, you take 10 demo trades and you're okay, and you're going to throw up a live account. I don't take a trade unless I'm going to win it. That's because I've so programmed the setups that I'll take and the setups I won't take. And my crew, like I said, they're the most loyal crew. They honor that to the nth degree. Don't take a lot of bad setups. Hardly any. All right. Hopefully you got something of value. Leave some feedback. If you got something that you enjoyed, go back to that ad or post a comment at IML Elite or Scans, Forks, and Fibos, and let everybody know what they missed tonight. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend. Remember, life can be short, so for those people you care and love, let them know you care and love them. I love you guys for taking almost 2.5 hours out of your day to be here.